Hi, I'm Kat, and this tutorial is how to make these button bracelets. They're really cute and unique, and in this tutorial I included how to make them adjustable like this one and like this one. So you have two different options. One's easier than the other. But what I love about them is they're great for stacking. They take about 15 to 20 minutes each to make them once you get the hang of it, and they're inexpensive. To make this bracelet, you'll need a roller, your braiding cord, a button with 2 holes. I got these shiny ones for less than $3 at Joann's. Flat nose pliers, a needle with an eye big enough for your braiding cord, scissors, whatever kind of bead you'll want to use on the ends of your bracelet ties, and you may also need some tape and some tacky glue. Start by cutting 2 30-inch lengths of cord. Next, cut 2 20-inch lengths of cord. And you'll need one last length that's anywhere from 10 to 15 inches, depending on how often you make these macrame bracelets. 15 will make it easier to work with. Next, take your bead and one of your 20-inch lengths of cord. Find both ends of the cord and pinch them together. Then slide that through the back of your button in one of the holes. If you can't get these to go through the single hole together, this is where your tacky glue comes in. Take a tiny bit of glue and smear it on the ends of your cords. This will keep all the fibers together so it doesn't unravel instead of pushing through the hole. Wait a few seconds for those to dry, then you can try again. That was much easier. Now pull the button clear up to the end of the loop and put both strings through the loop. And pull it tight. Do the same on the other side. Now you're ready to start weaving. Put one side of your bracelet under the clipboard. Next, you may or may not want to use a piece of tape to secure the other strings, which will be your center strings, down to the bottom of your clipboard. If you have a second clip and your board is short enough, you could also use a clip to secure them. Now that my strings are taut, it'll be much easier to weave. Take one of your 30-inch strings. This will be your working string. Tie your working string around your center strings. Then flip the knot over, like so. Tighten it. Using the left side of your working string, make a Q. See, here's the loop and here's the stick. That looks like a Q. Then take the end of the right side of your working string, place it over this string here, and then under the 3 strings in the center, and up through the loop. See how that's working? This string's going down through this loop, and this string is going up through this loop. So since you made a Q on this side before, now you're going to take this side of the working string and make a P on this side. So here's the loop, and here's the stick, and that makes the letter P. Place this string over this end of your working string, then down underneath both of your center strings and up through the loop on the P. Then pull it tight. I'll show you one more time. There's your Q, and the right side of your working string goes over this string here, under your center strings and up through the loop. Then you pull it tight. Now back to this side, make the letter P, grab your center string, put it under these center strings up through the loop, and pull it tight. Then keep going until you've woven half of your bracelet. When you think your first side is long enough, try placing the button in the middle of the top of your wrist, and then checking to see if your work goes almost halfway around your wrist. You want to leave about an inch in the middle because this is where you're going to have your sliding adjustable section. Now clip your bracelet in and start weaving on the opposite side. Once you think you've woven your second end to the same length as the first one, unclip it and compare the lengths. Looks pretty good. So this is the side that you've been working on. Flip it over and clip it in upside down. Take one side of your working string and thread it through the eye of your needle. If you don't think it'll work, use your tacky glue trick again. Once the glue is dry, you can try threading the needle again. So hold down your center strings and put the needle up underneath 2 or 3 of your knots. If you have a hard time pulling it through, use your pliers to pull it all the way through. This will help save your fingertips. Then thread the other side of your working string and thread it back up and through the exact same way. Once you've got your second string up and through, pull them both tight. Hold your center strings down and pull your working strings up and through the middle. Next, trim your strings as close to your work as possible without cutting anything except your working strings. Once these are up and through, they're not going anywhere, but if you're a little bit paranoid, you can put a tiny dab of your tacky glue on there and smear it in. Now do the exact same thing on the other side, making sure once again that you don't do this on the side that you've been working on, and you do in fact do it on the back side of your bracelet. So here's the back side of my bead, or my button, and I'm clipping my bracelet in upside down. Now you're ready to weave the adjustable portion of your bracelet. Turn your bracelet over and overlap your center strings. An easy way to keep them in place is to tie them onto each other. Make sure you don't tie this knot too tight because it's only temporary. Once you've tied those in place, you can either stand your bracelet up like this, or tape it down to keep it secure. I'm going to put this piece of paper in the middle so you can see where I'm working. Now take your last piece of string and tie a knot over all of the center strings. Once you've tied the knot, flip it over, like so. And continue weaving the exact same way you did on the other side. Make sure that you don't tie this portion too tight because it's supposed to slide over all of the center strings. Once you think the sliding portion is long enough, weave these two ends of your working string back up the same way you did. So flip over this section, and thread your needle once again. Now since this section of string was much shorter than your other ones, you're probably not going to be able to reach back up through this section with your needle. It's probably too long. To take care of that, just slip the other end in. Once you've slipped the eye of the needle in, your string is already through. So pull the string out of the eye, and then you can remove the needle. Now that your string is in, tug on it. And do the other side. Give both strings a good tug and trim them. Then dab a little bit of glue on and rub that in, but make sure you don't saturate all the way through to your center strings, otherwise your middle section won't slide. Next, you can untape your bracelet. Your next step is to untie your temporary knots. These are the strings that you use to adjust your bracelet. In order to keep them from sliding completely out, put on your bracelet. As you're slipping it over your hand, you'll notice exactly how long of a string you need to keep on your bracelet to be able to still put it on. I need about this much. Since I don't want too much extra string on my bracelet, I'll put my end beads on here and then tie a knot just outside of this length. And trim the excess cord. Then do the same with the other 3 strings. Now your bracelet is finished. Simply pull on it to loosen it. Slip it on. And pull on the strings to tighten it. For this part, the only thing that you'll do differently is use a button with 4 holes instead of 2. Just like with the first button bracelet, the first thing you'll do is take your 2 20-inch strings and put them onto your button. So what you're gonna do is find the ends of your cord, decide which side of your button is gonna be the top, and I like this one with the pattern. Then put your strings up through 2 of the holes from the bottom of your button. Once you've gotten both strings in, pull them through. And then leaving a little loop on the bottom, put them over the side of the button and down through the loop. There you go. Does this look familiar? Do the same on the other side. Once your string is through your button, you're ready to start weaving. And from here on in, it's exactly like your first button bracelet. Now another thing you can do to make these bracelets adjustable that is not the same as weaving a center portion over your center strings would be to turn your bracelet over, curl it up like so, and then using your needle, string these strings back up through a couple of these knots, and then string these strings back up through a couple of these knots. Let me show you how. Now if you have a big enough eye in your needle, you can string both of your strings in, but it will make it harder to weave. Then take your bracelet. This is the side that you were working on. It's the top of your bracelet. This is still the top of your bracelet. It's just curled. See? Now you're taking these strings from the opposite side of the bracelet and weaving them back in through a couple of these knots. Then attach a bead to each end of your strings. Tie a knot at the very end just for now. Then do the exact same thing with the other strings. So you can see why I don't like this method as much as weaving an extra section over the middle. It's just not as tidy. But figure out exactly how much string you need on either side of your bracelet. It only needs to be as long as the widest part of your hand while you would be putting it on. Then when you know how much string you need, scoot the beads closest to the bracelet and retie your knots. Sometimes it helps to use a needle to scoot your knot in. Then you can trim the excess cord. Then trim your excess cords on this side, and you're all done. So those are your two styles of button bracelets. They're pretty much just like the charm bracelets, but sometimes you need a few extra tricks to get them through those buttonholes.